So if we look at the security we consider is state-of-the-art today in our PCs, there is no hardware root of trust. Any protective measures run at or on or above the OS. Most of the prevention measures are reactive. The attacks on these systems run at all levels, and the protection can only run at the same level. So in a sense, we're fighting a losing battle. All the peripherals in this system are actually untrusted. Anyone can attack these peripherals, anyone can intercept the traffic between the keyboard and the screen. And so, whatever we are told, the reality is, I'm sorry, there is no such thing as completely secure browsing today. It's quite good, but it is not completely secure. And as we go forward, we do not believe that is acceptable. And so we believe the system needs a fundamental rewrite. And along with the traditional open system that we have on the left of this picture, we believe this needs to be complemented by a trusted hardware and software system. And this partition is what TrustZone enables to happen. And if we do this, we get a hardware root of trust. And on top of that hardware root of trust, we can build secure boot and secure software. And then on top of that secure platform, we can enable secure services such as payments and so on. And so we firmly believe this is the way to go. This TrustZone technology has been available from ARM for almost 10 years. And I'm pleased to say that the SoC vendors are now starting to build the complete TrustZone system into their SoCs. And so we're approaching the point quite soon now when we will be able to start building secure services on top of these platforms. I'm sorry. Yeah. Earlier this year, we created what we call platform description documents. The ARM architecture allows a lot of flexibility, and we're very proud of that, and we encourage you to be flexible and to build systems that are different and have your own advantage. But there are points where if you do too much of that, it simply makes it too difficult to port the software. And so that's a dilemma. We don't want to tell you exactly what to build, but we do want to guide you to stop differentiation where it costs and gains nothing. And so we have released and are continuing to release what we call these platform description documents, which are guidelines and recommendations for how you should build your systems. These are not mandatory. You can do whatever you want, but our advice is that you follow these documents, because if you do that, it will make it much quicker to port software to your SoCs. The number of platform description documents continues to grow, and you will see more in the future. Now, I talked a little bit about the size of those markets. Of course, most of you know that much ARM technology is used in devices that have screens. Little screens on your cell phone, right up to big screens on your HD TVs, and everything in between. ARM technology is very suited for this, and it's a big market, roughly 4 billion units by 2015. But that market actually is pretty small when we compare it with the real-time device market. So while the connected screen market is mostly about the Cortex-A series, the application processors, this market is about the Cortex-R series. And here we're talking about things like baseband, hard disk drives, automotive, and many systems that require quick interrupts and real-time response. This is a much bigger market. It's more diverse, but it's much bigger, expected to be about 11 billion units by 2015. Pretty exciting stuff. But even that pales into insignificance compared to the microcontroller market, which is going to grow to 19 billion units by 2015. This is the market that is powering the Internet of Things. This is where the real diversity and opportunity for innovation comes in. And we expect to see enormous growth in this market for ARM technology. I firmly believe in this market we will see many, many new applications which we have not yet even thought about today. And so wherever you are in this chain, whichever type of product you're wanting to build, I believe that there is a huge opportunity for you in the coming years. And if we look back in history, then we can see a very nice growth chart for ARM technology. By the end of last year, there were roughly 25 billion ARM chips cumulative in circulation. Over the last 12 months, you together have produced another 7 billion ARM chips. And that's an interesting number, because last month it was announced that there were 7 billion people in the world. So you made one ARM chip for every person on this planet. That's quite an achievement. Thank you. Please keep it up. I think we will see more growth in the future, and we're actually expecting that by 2020, there will be 150 billion ARM chips in circulation. These are very, very big numbers, and this points to success for everybody here. Now, I said ARM's role was to drive forwards our roadmaps, and I think I'm going to show you we're being quite active. Even this quarter, we've made 6 announcements about ARM technology, and I just want to go through those quickly. But before I do, I want to talk about Cortex-A15. Cortex-A15 is our highest end product at the moment. It's getting a lot of interest. It's been widely licensed by a variety of ARM partners. Prototypes are in fab at the moment with many partners, and we expect the very first products will hit the market using this technology by the end of 2012. So I think that's a very good story and a very good start. But of course, for that technology to really get into very high volume, it's going to need to be built on the very latest semiconductor process. And so Cortex-A15 is being used as an experiment vehicle with TSMC on their 20 nanometer process. And in September, together we taped out a Cortex-A15, a fully functional Cortex-A15 on TSMC's 20 nanometer process. This was a joint development between ARM, TSMC, and Cadence. And I think it's pretty exciting. It shows that ARM is working on the very forefront of technology. It shows that TSMC is using ARM as a test vehicle to demonstrate that we can build fully functional complex logic blocks on the very advanced process. And by working with Cadence, we have helped get together a design flow that makes this extremely advanced technology viable and possible. Silicon from that experiment should come out probably right at the beginning of next year, and I think we will then be able to show people just how exciting that is. ARM has always been committed, of course, to performance and energy efficiency. And so last month, there were a couple of announcements made that are particularly relevant to this, this issue. The first was the Cortex-A7 MP processor, which in itself is a pretty good processor. And the second is this concept of big. LITTLE processing, which I'll just go into in a minute. So firstly, Cortex-A7 MP core. This is not our highest performing core, but this is our most energy efficient core. This has 5 times the energy efficiency of Cortex-A8, which is actually what is powering many of the cell phones and smartphones in your pocket at the moment. It's a fifth of the size of Cortex-A8 when it's built on 20 nanometer process. And so I think you can see this gives you a pretty competent core at a much better price and performance point. We think this will enable smartphones down into the $100 price point, and it'll push up the battery life in what will by then be mid-entry smartphones. So in itself, we think this is a pretty interesting product which will get into the market in high volume. But when it gets really interesting, I think, is when we combine that with a Cortex-A15. So here we have a concept which we're calling big. LITTLE processing. And the idea is that at any point in time, you are using the correct processor for the job and not some compromise. So right now, almost everyone, except one person I noticed, has their cell phone off, on standby, in your pocket. It's doing very little. You don't need high performance for that. You don't need to be burning a big processor. So in this world, that will be running on the Cortex-A7. When it comes to the break, you will all turn your phones on, you'll want to do some web browsing, and you will want performance very quickly. At that point, you will switch to Cortex-A15. And the beauty of this system is that these two cores look identical to the software. And so the software is able to instantly and automatically switch between these two processing systems according to the load demand. And so by this measure, you can have extremely high performance with the new dual-core or quad-core Cortex-A15. But you can also have dramatically better standby time and low power operation if you're just playing an audio file or something using the Cortex-A7. Cortex-A7 is tiny when compared to Cortex-A15. So the actual extra silicon cost of this solution is also very little. And so I think you will see by this method, we have been able to extend the dynamic range in both performance and power consumption of the ARM solution. And I think this is going to be very popular.